Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Professor Dr. Rizwan Jamil Qureshi. Welcome to the lecture number 7 of Advanced Object-Oriented Software Engineering. We discussed the types of software engineering patterns in the last lecture. There are three software engineering patterns: architectural, design, and the idiom. So what are the architectural patterns we have? Data flow diagram, UML diagramming using use case, class, sequence, collaborative diagram, and so on. Client server architecture, middle tier architecture like Corba, RMI. Then what are the design patterns? There are three types of design patterns: creational, structural, and behavioral. There are 5 creational, 7 structural, and 11 behavioral patterns available. So there are total 23 design patterns. We call them GOF, Gang of Four patterns. So what are creational patterns? Singleton factory, abstract factory, builder, prototype. There are 5 creational. So singleton, when we need single instance of a class, a single instance of an object like logon application, ATM application, print spooling, and factory like command button, text box, label box are examples of factory pattern. And in structural, we have adapter. Adapter pattern is also called wrapper pattern. Like when we have legacy system developed in COBOL, Pascal, Fortran, C, and we have new systems developed in Java, C Sharp, PHP, Perl, Python, and we want to have intercommunication between the legacy system and the new system. So we need an adapter. Like we have 110 voltage, we have 210, 220 voltage. So we purchase device from advanced countries like America. So they have electronic devices with 110 voltage, and in Pakistan, India, Saudi Arabia, we have 220 voltage. So we need an adapter to adapt 110 to 220 or vice versa. Then we have decorator. Decorator pattern is also called a wrapper pattern, and it is used to add extra functionalities, extra responsibilities, like we want to decorate our car, decorate our home, decorate our room. We have decoration pieces, or in a car, we have extra dashboard, display, camera, or we have cushion, seat covers, extra light, stickers. Same in the class, we want to have extra functionality, like when we go to some restaurant, we have offer from the restaurant to have extra topping on pizza, or extra 7 up, extra large. That is additional responsibility. Or there is offer that you purchase one meal, sweet dish or dessert is available as a free. So that's a decorator. In the behavioral, how the objects will behave. So observer is one of the examples of behavioral pattern, like Excel or Google or event-driven programming languages. They wait for the user to perform an action. Like in Excel, you enter data and you generate bar chart or pie chart. If you change the data, automatically bar chart or pie chart will change. That is an example of observer pattern. And then memento, there was a mistake in the last lecture. I said that memento is structural. Actually, the memento is behavioral pattern. I apologize for that. So memento pattern is used to undo or redo some function, like in Microsoft Office, you have front arrow, back arrow, or Control Z to undo some text or function. Another example of memento is model view controller. that also used for as an observer. So if user performs some action, the controller will take that event to perform an action or change the view. That's the observer. Second example. Then you have idiom patterns, pseudocode, flowchart, decision table, decision tree, and nest diagram are examples of idiom patterns. A component is an independent part of a system having complete functionalities like built-in controls available in Visual Studio.NET or Visual Studio or NetBeans, command button, text box, label box. Software applications developed using components are also called componentware. What are the advantages of component-based development? Reuse, interoperability, upgradability, time saving, cost saving, abstraction, increase the efficiency of programmers, reliability, improved quality. These are the main advantages of component-based development. Let us discuss them one by one. What is reuse? In my previous lectures, I already defined reuse as write once, run anywhere. Like you have written code in COBOL, Pascal, Fortran, C, and you need the same function in the new project. Instead of reinventing the wheel, you can call and use that function. So in the life of the company, it's a reusable function regardless of the programming language is used to develop that function. So reusability is one of the main advantages of object-oriented development and component-based development. In mail applications, we have a component, it's called CDO-NTS. So what is CDO-NTS? Collaboration on data objects for Windows NT Server. It is a mail application component available in Visual Studio.NET or in Visual Studio. You can have your own CDO-NTS component. So all the mail applications using Visual Studio or Microsoft environment use CDO-NTS component. That is an example of reuse. Second example of reuse is Windsock Control available in Visual Studio. Windsock stands for Windows Socket Control. Here it comes to our mind, what's a socket? Socket is a combination of protocol, port, and host address. Normally, we define socket as a channel for network communication that could be wired or wireless. So there are three components of a socket. The first component is protocol like TCP, UDP. Then what's a protocol? Protocol is a standard so that hardware and software developed by different vendors or manufactured by different vendors can intercommunicate with each other like HTTP, TCP, UDP, SMTP, POP. And then you have protocol port is the second component. What is a port? Port is a network access point. There are 65,000 plus ports available in the computer. The first 1,000 is for internal usage, and the rest of the ports you can use for socket programming. So you can have socket programming using Visual Studio or Java or any programming language. So like, for example, I use port protocol TCP port, I use like 5,000. And what's a host address? Host address is the server address like Hotmail, Yahoo, Gmail, Google. I remember the Hotmail old host address 64.4.10.7. So we have network ID and we have host ID. So 64 is the network ID and 0.4.10.7 is the host ID. So we have classes of addressing like class A addressing. The first part of the address, host address is the network ID and the rest is the host ID, like I said, 64.4.10.7. In class B, first two parts are the network ID and last two are the host ID. Like 64.4 is the network ID and 0.10.7 is the host ID. In class C addressing, you have first three parts are the network ID and last one is the host ID. So 64.4.10 is the network ID and 0.7 is the host ID. There is a company in America, its name is ICANN, Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, or to assign names and numbers. ICANN, ICANN, Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. This corporation is responsible for the IP addressing. So we call them IP address. And we have DNS server, domain name server, that translates the name into IP addresses. Like it's very difficult to remember addressing 64.4.10.7. So it's easy, we remember addresses like www.hotmail.com, so google.com, yahoo.com, gmail.com, kau.edu.sa, or mit.edu. So DNS domain name server translates the name into IP addresses to change the names into addresses. So we have addresses and we change the names like Hotmail, Yahoo, Gmail. So we were talking about socket, protocol, port and host address, protocol, TCP, port 5000, and host address like I just said 64.4.10.7, or normally we use for socket testing 127.0.0.1. So that's the complete socket. We complete the components of socket. So what's the usage of Windsock Control? Windsock Control is used for network or socket programming using Visual Basic to develop client-server applications or LAN environment or WAN environment. So if you want to have client-server programming, using Visual Basic, you can use Windsock Control and it's compatible with VSTudio.net. Then you have messaging component, message queue component, which is another example of reuse. Like you want to pop up messages, so you want to receive messages. In order to have queue of messages, so if you are not accessing them, they will be arranged as queues in the message queue component, and as you connect to the network, automatically one by one it will display to you as in notifications. So you can send and receive messages, explore queues, create and delete queues, or in order processing application, like even server is down, the client or customer can place the order, and as the server will be uploaded, the merchant can see the orders. So that's another example of usage of application of message queue component. So message queue component is used for all email applications, order processing applications, messaging applications. Then you have grid components. Grid is like a socket board or power circuit or lead extension. So we have grid computing. There are three types of grid available. We have computational grid, we have scavenging grid, and we have data grid. The computational grid is developed using high performance servers that are integrated to act as one server like supercomputer. Because supercomputers are very expensive and companies cannot afford, only the government of Hukuma can afford supercomputers. So the small or medium or large companies, the enterprise companies, they use high performance servers to integrate them to act as supercomputer, like the scientist who cracks DNA of human body used computational grid. And second example of grid is scavenging grid. Scavenging grid is used to monitor land environment and to share the resources of idle computers which are not in use. Like in KU, you have almost 10,000 faculty members. So most of the time, the faculty members are in the lectures, so they are not available in their offices. So you can share their resources to those users in terms of processor, in terms of hard disk, which are active users. So it is used to monitor desktop machines within the LAN environment, and you can share resources of those machines which are not in use to active users to increase their performance. Then third type of grid is data grid. Data grid is used to host data from multiple tables or multiple sources. For example, Google is an example of data grid. It hosts data from multiple servers. Or in Visual Studio environment, you have data bound grid, you have MS Flex grid available to host data from multiple tables, multiple sources. So that's the third example of grid, which is data grid. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair. May Allah